about this. I've discovered microdosing mushrooms.
What's the argument against?
You're gonna get addicted. What are you gonna do when you can't do it anymore?
You don't get addicted.
That's my argument back, right? They actually use mushrooms to pull people off of hardcore drugs. Like
they just showed, there was a study that was recently published. See if you can find this. I think it's Psynauts, Psynauts on Twitter, posted this, that they showed that psilocybin dosage is more effective than any other therapy for kicking drugs, alcohol, and nicotine. Yeah, it just makes you realize why you're doing it in the first place. You don't really need it.
It's like if anyone has ever seen the movie Limitless and you pop that pill and you're like,
yeah,
here we go.
There's something to it for sure.
Something to it. And I was up in Grand Lake, Colorado, and with a bunch of X Games guys, and we were sitting at a table, and I said, "Hey man, any of you guys give me some mushrooms?" And they're like, "What? You microdose?" And I was like, well, no, but tell me about it. And right? Every one of them at the table were like, dude, we don't compete without it. We just don't do it. It's just something that every one of my X Games models I've ever won, microdosing mushrooms. He's like, it's just something, it's like a secret thing that we all do, but we don't talk about. Because if I walk in, and well, probably not your family, but somebody else's family, and I'm like, I just took my mushrooms today, they'd be like, you can't hang out with him anymore.
Yeah, you're a bad influence.
You're bad influence. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, you're a bad guy out there doing drugs.
But I could tell you, Joe, I could give you this pill that I ground up and I made, or you can go get a prescription from the pharmacy and take Adderall and try and replicate the same thing. But this is so much healthier. You're not gonna have any side effects, no addiction. Where who knows what they're putting in your body?
Yeah,
and to me, that's so much cleaner, so much more amazing, I feel, right? So I started this microdosing mushrooms, and man, do you feel like you're fucking tuned in. It's insane. So
it's like the world's a different frequency.
Totally.
Do you know how you ever use binoculars and you're looking through them and shit's all blurry, and then you just adjust that little knob a little and boom, it comes into focus. That's really what it's like. It's like the rest of the world. You could look through binoculars and they're a little off, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You can see what you're looking at. But then you adjust that little bitch a little bit, like, oh, there it is.
There it is.
I see what's up.
And it feels like the back of your brain is turned on and working. Like you're using everything. I love it. I love the feeling.
Do you know about the stoned ape theory?
No.
There's a guy named Terrence McKenna, died a few years back, and his brother Dennis McKenna actually probably does an even better job of explaining it because he's a real scientist.
Yeah.
And he had a theory that there's a reason why human beings evolved so quickly over a short period of time, and it's that the climate changed,
right,
and that the rainforest receded into grasslands, and these monkey people, like we used to be, climbed out of the trees and started experimenting with different food sources. And one of the things they started doing is flipping over cow patties, and they would look for beetles and grubs and things that they would eat, and then they would experiment with the mushrooms that grew on the cow patties.
Sure.
So he says that at the same time that these forests were receding into grasslands, all these ungulates, all these wild cows they existed in this area, and then most likely these things left behind shit, and mushrooms grew in the shit.
Not most likely, 100%.
Yeah. And then these things ate these mushrooms, and that over a period of 2 million years, the human brain size doubled. And apparently it's the biggest mystery in the entire fossil record.
Right.
The fact that something so important as the human brain would double over such a short period of time, and they don't know what it is. And there's a bunch of different theories.
Sure.
Use of fire, cooking meat, the throwing
But you think the use of fire, cooking meat was sparked because?
It's possible.
You're right.
Yeah, it's possible that it's also language. It's possible. And Dennis explains it very well in the first podcast we did with scientific terms, like what part of the brain would be excited by psilocybin that would increase your creativity and spark the creation of language. And sounds, like one of the things that happens with people that are tripping hard, like sounds become objects.
Right.
You start like moaning and singing, and you see your sound, like the Icaros, the da 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 da. You see those things. There's some connection between sounds and physical things. And his idea was that this is how words and language was created, and this is how the human being evolved out of the lower hominids. That we most likely, at least partially, evolved because of consuming psychedelic mushrooms.
I like it, and I believe it.
It makes sense if they were everywhere. I mean, if they were everywhere, like, fucking, fill in the blank, whatever weed that you could see just growing in the field. It's entirely possible there was climates at some point in time in human history where that shit was everywhere.
Sure.
Especially when there's no large-scale agriculture and these animals just shit all over the place.
Well, they probably didn't know. They were probably, just berries, nuts, mushrooms, and then all of a sudden, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Whatever those ones were.
Yeah, keep those around.
Keep those coming.
Yeah, and then they cultivated them, and there's a lot of ancient cultures that they worship cattle, and they think there's probably a bunch of reasons for that. Like they use the cattle for milk, and they probably ate them.
Sure.
But it's also possible that they worshipped them because they grew mushrooms on their shit. That's also one of the reasons why some people feel like the Hindus always respected the cows and consider the cows sacred, even though like some of them are starving. They won't eat cows.
Right.
It's like there may be a connection to Soma. And Soma, they don't know what was in Soma, but Soma is on all the ancient Hindu texts. Right. And it's some sort of a psychedelic. And they think it perhaps had something to do with psychedelic mushrooms that were growing on cow shit. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It only makes sense.
Well, I mean, like you said, when you look back, that in reading about all the mushrooms that I was doing, you look back and from the beginning of time, they have people different, even like the Mayans, right? Drawing pictures of something. They don't know what.
Yeah.
Some kind of psychedelic. And of course, it would probably be where the shaman or the town drug dealer would
he would figure out how to get it to you.
Right, he'd figure it out, and then you'd go on these quests. And so that has to play into something. And now all of a sudden today in 2018, they're like, that's illegal.
Well, the only people that don't think that any of this stuff makes sense, like the people that are listening right now that are dismissing this, are just people who haven't done them.
Right.
If you've done those drugs, you probably like
nod in your head like
this could probably be what it is. Yeah. They grow everywhere.
But have they done the drug for party reasons, or have they done the drug because they're trying to learn? Right. I mean, I think that's two totally different avenues. If me and you were like, let's eat a bunch of mushrooms and go fucking walk the strip.
Right.
That's totally different than me and you were like, hey man, let's learn. Let's learn from this.
Yeah. Let's dive in.
Yeah. So I think just your mind is already put into what direction you want to go. So maybe that's right.
Yeah. I just think we've been poisoned by propaganda, and the people that created it, they're not alive anymore, and we're still being haunted by their stupid shit from the 1930s.
Sure.
All that William Randolph Hearst shit. Like they poisoned us with everything, and then Nixon in the 1970s, when they passed the sweeping psychedelic acts and made everything illegal, they poisoned us again, and we're still trapped with this ancient, stupid way of looking at things that's not based on reality at all. People should have freedom. If you believe in America in particular, you should believe in freedom. We should be able to do whatever the fuck we want as long as we're not hurting anybody. Well, mushrooms is like one of the best examples of you do whatever the fuck you want without hurting anybody. No one's dying of an overdose.
No one's committing crimes.
No one's doing anything bad. In fact, it's probably going to make you a better person. It's probably very likely going to make you a better person.
Yeah.
And somehow or another, even in 2018, with the internet, with all that we know, it's still illegal. And that's
I enjoy drinking beer with you, buddy.
Me too,
we just
brother.
did a little campfire. We fucking said we'll slay some deer.
Exactly. We should.